Welcome to the Unstoppable Force podcast. I'm Guy.
And I'm Rob.
And welcome back to another episode. Another week, another day, another Thursday.
Another
What is
topic.
this, what?
No, just another topic.
Yep, another topic. I think this is our 27th episode.
I think so.
But today we're going to be focusing on a lot of the Star Wars stuff.
Yeah.
It's been going on. Primarily the new trailer dropped.
Yeah, for Rise of Skywalker.
What day did that drop, though? I think it was like over the weekend, right?
Yeah, it's definitely over the weekend. I don't know what specifically.
Probably like Friday, because that's when they release, like, I feel like.
Yeah, they hype it
stuff.
for the weekend. Because they know, like, oh, yeah, everybody's going to go see all their friends. They're going to talk about it, and then word of mouth's going to go.
YouTubers can start on their theory videos. And,
yeah.
But, like, you know, I kind of didn't care. I kind of didn't even notice that it came out, and...
Yeah, I didn't actually care to watch it until one of our friends mentioned how bad it was. And then I was like, alright, let me watch it. So, I watched it, and it was just mediocre, honestly. It was just, like, kind of what I expected from a trailer for the next Star Wars movie. It was just a bunch of, like, big, like shots, and, like, look at a lot of trailer shots. You have, like, the group, like, three, like, Finn and Poe, and, like, turning around, like, for the trailer, and, like, all this other, like, fighting stuff that, like, it looked really mashed up, and there was no, like, story at all, which I guess is good if you don't want anything kind of spoiled. But
apparently they did spoil stuff. I didn't really look into it because I personally don't want to spoil myself.
Yeah.
I guess we're gonna see it.
Yeah.
Like, there's a part of me that wants to be good. So there's like, can they save it? You know? But, yeah, I wouldn't even say that I specifically felt like it was bad. It was like more that I just felt it was, like, boring.
Yeah.
And it's just not, it's not even boring because there's all these cool scenes, these shots and moments and stuff. But it just felt like immediately as if the movie was, like, made around the trailer almost. Like, not actually, obviously, but...
yeah, it looks like they
just, like, were like, oh, let's think of every cool moment in the movie and, like, try to squeeze it into this trailer. And I feel like they continue to miss the point. And they miss what everybody actually wants out of a Star Wars movie. Like, guys, you have to actually have, like, a decent story and characters and, like, make it more about that. That's what we enjoyed.
They like the set pieces a lot more. They like to see, like, the big, like, gunships and, like, the whole setup with all the ships in space. Like, oh, we're gonna go have, like, this big dogfight or whatever. And
there's that, like, ice, like, thing, that structure of ice.
I mean, that looks freaking awesome.
That did look awesome.
Like, that whole set piece looks really cool.
But there's, like, I think because all the set pieces do actually look really cool, and all the scenes that they show in the trailer do look really cool, that's what makes it such a bad trailer. Because while that stuff, there's a part of you that's like, I kind of want to see it. Like, I want to see it. But there's, like, yeah, but, you know, in the last two movies, our main character basically has had zero change in any fashion of her entire character.
Yeah, and any tiny bit of character development that Finn had, like, went away as well.
Yeah,
like,
I mean, he, like
they try to set him up. They try to set him up with Rose, and that just whole side, like, story that was.
I didn't even mind Rose. I think it was like a nice new character.
Right, that's fine, but, like, forcing the relationship right away and having this other side, like, story happening. That's the whole reason they had
the casino thing too. It was like so that they could have a moment together.
Yeah, and that was so bad.
Yeah, it's like we don't mind these characters. I know, like, Rose got a lot of hate in the last movie, but it's like we don't dislike the characters when they're well written.
Yeah.
We dislike the characters when they feel shoehorned into the movie and out of place and drive characters' decisions into irrationality and, you know, like, make things too fast and speed things up. Like, why couldn't Rose and Finn gotten together in the next movie? Why couldn't there have been some tension in this movie or in the previous movie? And then we can be like, oh, are Finn and Rose going to get together in the next movie? Like, we actually have something to look forward to. But, like, I don't even know what the next movie was gonna be about because they killed Snoke. Like, most of the situation kind of closed out in the last movie with what's his name dying. Oh my god. Luke
Oh
dying.
yeah,
And
and then like Leia floating back from space
then,
and like being like, "Oh, it's all actually okay. It was all part of the plan."
and
Or
they just
some
destroy
shit.
the entirety of the enemy fleet with like one ship going into light speed.
Yeah.
You know, who knew that one ship going into light speed can kill an entire fleet of enemy ships? I wonder if that's ever going to come up again.
Oh.
Probably not.
Yeah.
Probably for the cool shot. Because everything in
Yeah.
these last 3 fucking movies have been about the cool shot and the fan service, and it's like it.
Yeah.
They forgot about character development and plot.
The other thing is we keep getting Kylo Ren and Rey like this whole back and forth between like kind of relating and not relating, and then like fighting in this trailer, and then just
I
like not really
genuinely-
making a bunch of sense.
In the last movie, I genuinely thought that she might turn evil, like join the dark side.
Yeah.
And that would have made these movies way better.
Yeah.
Because it was in line with her character. She was cocky from the beginning. She like always kind of was dabbling in the dark side a little bit. She had anger. She like probably you can like kind of bring in the parents' resentment towards her parents for like abandoning her, or like, you know, they can. She was gonna actually have character development by becoming evil, and then because she didn't, she's no different than she was from the first like 5 minutes of the first movie.
Yeah. I really don't know where they're gonna go, and like, why is this like Rise of Skywalker? Honestly, like, aren't we done? I don't care like what sort of excuse they come up with. It makes no sense.
What does it even mean? Does that mean like Luke and Vader and I guess you could say Anakin and Obi-Wan are gonna like come back from the Force to fight like Force Palpatine?
Dude, that would be the stupidest thing in Star Wars. No, almost
like
the
imagining
stupidest thing
them,
in
like-
Star Wars history.
Yeah.
Except for the like Wookiee fucking Christmas, but whatever.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Other than that, that would be the stupidest thing in Star Wars history.
Yeah. I'm just imagining all of them in like the Force like version of themselves, the dead version, like they're all like battling each other, and it's like, guys, we can't even touch you. It's like, I want to help, but I can't. You guys
Oh
in
my
like
God.
another dimension or something.
Oh my god.
I feel like they might try to push the lore too, and you know, if they start like messing with like how the Force works after death, I feel like they're just gonna dig themselves into this bigger hole of like plot holes.
Okay, they already started like doing stuff like that. Like, they already have like flying through space. How do you do that? Like with the Force, you can just do it. They just come up with different things. Honestly.
I mean, theoretically, it would make sense to me that if the Force is somewhat of a telekinesis, obviously it has more applications than just telekinesis, because you can, you know, affect people's minds, and it's kind of like telekinesis and telepathy and like some other things mixed in there. But if I can move a box up in the air, what if I stand on the box and then move the box up in the air? Doesn't that make me flying?
Yeah. I
You know, and then what if I just imagine there's like a little invisible like some sort of like disc underneath me,
right, I know,
and then imagine that lifting into the air.
but this takes like energy and like concentration. Like, she was dying. Like,
Yeah,
so I don't know.
I mean,
Whatever.
I think like you can kind of be like, well, they could always do that, but they just weren't in space before.
I mean, it's
Like,
all the different
they didn't
things
need
that
to
they
do
can
it.
do. Yeah. Whatever.
But I think they definitely have like come up with like new ways that the Force could be used. In these like well, actually, was Luke's battle meditation? Was that technically what that was?
that we haven't seen that before. I think in the movies,
That's in the
at
video
least.
games, though.
Right. That's
Like Bastila in Knights of the Old Republic had battle meditation.
right.
Worked a little differently in that, though.
Yeah.
She couldn't like fight from another location. Instead, she would just like basically boost the morale and fighting spirit and strength of the armies.
Okay. Yeah, we got a little bit of like Kylo Ren like stopping like the dude in midair, and that makes sense from like all the other stuff that we see with like moving objects and stopping objects.
I they just need to do something that's not like super fan servicey.
I don't know.
They think they're
They're
giving us
trying
what
to
we
be
want.
safe though.
Yeah.
That's the thing. They're just cramming all of like our favorite characters and like keeping them like coming back, except for like Han Solo, which he didn't want to be in the movie anyway. So like we're gonna just have like a bunch of nonsense, honestly, and just big fights, and that's fine. But don't like pretend that it's anything other than that, I guess.
Yeah, and then it's like if we're gonna say something like Rey is a Mary Sue or whatever, it's like just admit that she is.
Right. Just
guys,
yeah.
It doesn't have to be this bad thing. Like as long as you like say that you're doing it because you want these cool, epic moments and scenes, and if you just focus on that, then it's like that's fine. But when we call her a Mary Sue, just like recognize that we're not wrong.
Right. Like
literally,
we're giving this female power. We're saying she's strong and powerful. There she is. Like, however she does it, that's just what it is.
It took 3 movies for Luke to use the Force. What's the Force mind control? I believe.
Like
in the original series, the original 3.
Oh, what do you mean mind control?
You know, Force mind control, or what's it called?
Telekinesis?
No, the thing where like you go like these are not the droids you're
looking for.
Oh,
okay, okay.
So. You know, in those series we watch, or in the first like 3 movies, we see Obi-Wan use it in the first movie.
Yeah.
And then the next movie is Luke training, and in the 3rd movie when he's like older and he has learned more, he uses Force mind control. In this movie, or in this 3 movies, in the first movie, it's like, oh, I've never used the Force before. Instead of having somebody teach me it, I'm just going to be put in a life or death situation and then automatically know how to use it. And that's basically going to be the whole movie. Every time I get into a new life or death situation, I'm going to learn a new Force power.
And like how to use a lightsaber right away.
Guys, I mean, you want to know why lightsabers are really difficult to use? It's because they're weightless. That's the whole point, is that they're a completely different fighting weapon. The blade doesn't have a weight to it. Imagine fighting with like I don't even know. It's almost like
having a flashlight.
Yeah, it's like having a lightsaber battle with a flashlight, but then like actually not cutting off your own legs and arms.
Yeah, like not having the beam touch you at all.
Yeah. Like this is something. Even if I wanted to use like a bow staff or like a spear or even a sword or any weapon, any martial arts weapon, no matter how gifted I am with the Force, I'm going to need to train in it.
Yeah.
And it's like, at least in the first 3 movies, we watched Luke train with a lightsaber.
Yeah.
Like, at no point did they even try at all.
They want to get right to the action. That's it.
And then, like, they made her able to fly the ship immediately, which then I think they, like, tried to play off as that she did the battle simulation when she was, like, scavenging or whatever. But that only, like... I think that information was only released after the movie came out or something. But it's just like time and time again, she would just get her way out of situations because the writers wrote her out of it. And it doesn't make her like the actress, I think, did a great job with her. That's fine.
Yeah.
And I think that her cocky attitude worked, and I didn't mind it. And I wouldn't even mind her learning all those things quickly. And then they do like the whole parent thing, and they're like, oh, anybody's parents. You know, you could be anybody and still have midichlorian counts that are like 16 times higher than Anakin Skywalker, so that you immediately know everything about being a Jedi without having to learn any of it.
Yeah, like that little kid at the end of the movie, at the last movie, that has like the broom just brushing with the Force. Yeah. They're like, oh, it could be anybody. That's like the whole point of it, but it's like, well, really, is that? Is that the point?
It kind of just like made us all think that there was going to be something cool or some information or backstory, and then you kind of just threw it back in our face and said, nope, no backstory. Yeah. She's just really powerful because we wrote her that way. We're not even going to validate it within our universe.
Yeah, I liked... See,
too much work.
I did like the really confusing, like, Kylo Ren being like, oh, your parents were actually nobody, like, that whole thing. Him, like, us not knowing if he's messing with her, and then, like, they confirmed that her parents were nobody. It was like... Okay, you I
still don't even feel like I believe it, because if I do, then it's just going to make me more annoyed.
Yeah.
Like, after that movie, I walked out and was like, wait, so are her parents nobodies? And I remember one of our friends who's, like, super into Star Wars was like, yeah, it's the whole point, or blah, 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 blah. And I was like, I kind of get that, but, like, it doesn't mean I enjoy that that's how they decided to go with it, you know?
Yeah.
And it feels like kind of placatey, like, you know, they're trying to do the whole like catering to kids thing, and that's why they had that scene with the kid, and he's like making the Force do the you know, oh, it could be anybody, like it's like tomorrow you might have a kid in like 5 to 10 15 20 30 years, and they might grow up and turns out they're actually Anakin Skywalker.
Yeah. Oh wait, what if Rey's wait? So then, what if like her children? They could also not have the Force. Like,
Yeah, like
is
how
that
does
a
this all
thing?
work then, right?
Like, is it not bloodline?
Mm-hmm. So it's not blood related. Apparently, the midi-chlorian like fucked Anakin's mom for some reason. No one understands what that means. What are they like? When I think of that, I just imagine like a almost like a hentai thing where it's like the swarm like comes together and it's like this like floating like some sort of like protozoa or something
oh
like
God.
dick.
Oh my God.
Like
Yeah.
what does it mean? Is she like the Virgin Mary?
Yeah. I think that was actually like the allegory or whatever.
Yeah, I do get that that's the allegory, but it just further confuses lore, which is in a universe like Star Wars, people really love lore.
Well,
When you start fucking with lore,
right.
It starts to make things like really annoying.
The whole idea was that Anakin's father was probably somebody so powerful that he became the most powerful. Like, how does that happen? Like,
Well, I think that the maybe part of it is like since Anakin's parents were nobody. And he was like all powerful, like Rey is like. Maybe it's kind of like that same idea that like the midi-chlorians like found somebody who's like worthy.
Yeah. I mean, while like really consulting the lore, like we don't like I don't know who his father actually is. Like between you and me, like with the movies, they don't really explain it, like who Anakin's father is, because he wasn't really there.
But I think that they said that essentially he was born from the midi-chlorians and the mom. Yeah, they actually do not mention there even existing of a father.
Okay.
And that's why it is like the Virgin Mary reference.
Okay, I mean that's like way more explainable to have a Jedi son than having two lame ass parents and then having a Jedi daughter.
Right, yeah, because then at least it's like this is like an anomaly.
Yeah.
There's something special about this kid, kind of thing. And then like the Force brought them to that planet to meet him, and it's like the Force has some sort of fate element, or like these creatures. Honestly, I don't know that much about the extended universe.
Right, me either.
I'm sure that our friend who's super into Star Wars would probably be able to tell us all the information related to midi-chlorians, but like there's a fate element to it.
Yeah. And
there was this kind of, I think, like spitting in the face of fate-ness to Rey. Because this idea like, oh, your parents aren't anyone special. There was no reason why you got these powers. Like is it fate again? Like, was she meant to be here at this time, at this place, to affect the world? It felt more contrived. It felt less believable. It feels more like weird. Like it kind of like they started writing her character for the first movie, and then they were going to do something with the second movie. They were like, oh man, we can't think of anything good for Rey's parents, who they could be. What if we made them nobody?
God. What killed me was the freaking scene when she went down into like the cave and like the mirror where she like touches it. And just like it's her like reflection all the way back, and then it breaks or whatever, and then it's just her standing there, and we got nothing.
That's character progression in this movie.
I know, yeah,
in
nothing.
These movies, yeah.
Like that was supposed to be like parallel to the scene with Luke and seeing him in the Vader mask and like being like, oh no, like what the hell, and that was kind of what that was supposed to be, and it was just give us nothing.
Yeah.
It was so lame, and it didn't explain anything. Like, is that the whole point? Like, see, her parents are nobody, and it doesn't matter. She's her own, like, woman. Like, what? Like,
Luke dies, and it's like, they didn't really explain it. Like, we don't expect him to die before that. We're not really sure what's going to happen. And
why did he pick there to die? Like, did he just use up all his energy? Why didn't he just go fight anyway at that point?
Right,
like,
they don't even explain that. They burn down all the books, like the Death of the Jedi, like Last Jedi, and...
But then they don't though. Didn't she take them? Yeah.
I don't know. It's just.
So yeah, the setup for this next movie is very, very poor. Like between like the disappointing previous movie and like the very like not character, not like story driven trailer where you can just tell that it's just to get the families out to go see this.
It just feels it almost feels like. I don't even know. It's like if you if you like made 10 pictures and then you were gonna sell the entire, or sorry, you made like 100 drawings, and you were gonna sell the entire collection, but when you go to sell it, you only show like the 10 best pictures of your 100, and they have to buy it based off of those 10 best pictures that you drew, kind of thing. Where it's like they.
I mean, that's kind of how a trailer is, so.
Yeah, but more like the reason I'm using pictures is because it's just the picture, like visual. Like they made this whole movie with all these crazy visuals and places and moments, and you know they go to all these different planets and everything. So the trailer felt very much like it was just going through the movie and looking for the most cool, epic looking scenes, and then just kind of like crop them out through a like an audio track over it, and then went like, oh, here we go, trailer.
Yeah. Imagine like how boring it's gonna, like the dialogue scenes are just gonna feel, like from based on like seeing what we saw in the trailer. Like any big scenes are just gonna be stitched together with a very like just like this dialogue that's not gonna progress the characters probably that much.
Yeah, I don't even know. I don't think a single character has really done anything different from when.
Yeah, Poe didn't learn shit. Right? Because he was trying to go against orders to do the right thing. Meanwhile, they already had a plan to do a thing that also got screwed up.
So he's still going to be cocky. He's still going to be, like, jumping the gun. He didn't learn anything about trusting others or working as a team.
Right.
Yeah.
And then Rey kind of saw that whole thing with her not going to the dark side, kind of just being like, oh, I am who I am, like not learning who she actually is. Same
and
thing.
She's always been insanely overpowered. Always like winning through learning some new force ability in the middle of a fight.
Yeah.
Basically has not lost like anything.
Yep.
Up to this point. Has always been once again another cocky character. Very sure of herself. Which is fine, but not when you like I think that if you have a cocky character, you have to kick them into the dirt.
Yeah. You have to cut them down. That's what you gotta do. Yeah.
They have to go from being cocky to being humble because it's called character development. But when they like start cocky and then the end of the second movie they're still cocky, if not more cocky, it's not character development.
Yeah.
And then even Finn, he seems just like the same guy.
Yeah, he didn't
who's like
nothing
haunted
really
by
happened.
his past.
Yeah,
he has to try to make up for it by doing good things.
Yeah. And he still runs away from certain things. Like
Well, didn't he like sacrifice himself for like?
Yeah, at the end he was
something?
gonna do that. Yeah, because like he was doing that in the first movie, right? Like that's how he was trying to get away, and then he's like, "Oh, you and I are gonna go," and then he would have died just to get away. And that's kind of how at the end he's like, "All right, I'm gonna do this to sacrifice himself to save everybody."
Yeah.
So like that from the very first time we meet him to this,
stopped him or something.
Yeah.
What happened? I forget.
Yeah, she ran into him. I hated that. He should have died. But also, like he wasn't even
if he died.
What?
That's the thing. It's like every time they almost do a character right, they just change it because they're like, "Oh, people will be upset that the character."
But also,
died.
like, it shouldn't have been him. That he was not even the right character to go do that.
Yeah.
Even it was supposed to be like Poe. Like it just doesn't make any sense. So
it just feels like they design characters, and then they design the set pieces and the moments and the big fights and like the big reveals. And they didn't care if the characters grew. They just cared about moving the characters from one scene to the next, and how do we motivate a character from one scene to the next. Yeah. But it's like, oh, who in this moment would be the one to most likely do this particular thing?
Yeah.
Oh, who cares? We really just want the character who's going to move the plot along to do the thing, not the character who it makes most sense doing the thing. But yeah, I think that's really the main reason why we're not as hyped for the third one. But like, still want it to be good. Like,
always hope it is. I mean, I thought that
I want to like it.
I don't remember now because I kind of like forgot my experience of watching the first two of this trilogy, but I'm pretty sure I'm trying to remember which one I thought was better than the other one, but now it just escapes me because now
I like the second one more than the first one.
Yeah. I don't really remember. I just remember what happened and not like my opinion on it.
There's like moments in the second one that I thought that were good in isolation, but then within the greater like movie, it's definitely not as good. But
think,
like the first one was essentially just a copy of A New
which
Hope.
so I think that them doing that I think is better than doing some bullshit that they did in the second one. That's
And
the way
I'd
I
rather
feel.
them at least like try to be creative and do something weird and different, and than to just make a carbon copy of the first movie. Like I don't, no one, no Star Wars fan, if they were like given like a straw poll and it was like do something totally new, basically remake like A New Hope but with a totally new Death Star and a new character and a new like side characters, or like I don't know, do some other thing that's safe but not a repeat. Like no one wants the repeat of the first movie. They did the prequels. They did very poorly critically. I think they did pretty well in terms of box office.
Yeah.
But they performed poorly critically. So I bet you Disney was like, okay, you guys can make the first Star Wars movie, but you know we want it to be like super safe. So just make it really similar to New Hope. Make it really similar to that. People will like it if it's really similar to A New Hope because everyone liked New Hope. Like no, guys, no one wants to see a remake of their fucking one of their favorite movies.
Yeah.
Like if it's in the same universe just years later. Like if it was like just a remake, it would be okay. And like nothing that happened in the previous movies mattered.
Yeah.
Like fine. But this was literally not 1,000 years later. How long after is it? Like it's like Luke is how old? Because they live old. They might live significantly older in if you're a Jedi, I believe.
I don't remember.
I guess we can say like maybe like 100 years after the.
Yeah, maybe.
If we want to like assume that he's at least like 120.
This might be a safe bet.
But yeah, I mean like even 100 years later.
Okay.
Immediately there's like another gigantic super-sized Death Star that's was it 10 times bigger than the original?
Well, obviously the first one was too small, so we have to make it bigger and it'll be better and it won't get destroyed as easily, obviously. So you learn from your mistakes.
And then I just remember that scene where they were like, what is it called? Light speed. What was it? Hyperdrive, warp speed, warp light. I don't know. every game and movie has their own name for it.
They have. It's like
hyperspace drive.
I
feel like none of these are right. What is wrong with me?
I thought it was light speed.
Light speed. No. Okay, maybe we'll go light speed.
God, you're killing me. Ludicrous speed.
But you remember, like, they just go straight at the
yeah.
I don't even know what it's called. The Death Star 3.
Yeah, you're the one that said it before.
I did say the name of this. Like, no, I don't think I said the name of Death Star. The new Death Star. No, you
said the speed that they weren't going.
Oh, why is it like hyperspeed, light speed?
Oh man, this is embarrassing.
Hyperdrive. I don't know. But like they like did that and then stop like right in front of the planet, and it's like they just like shoehorn their way into destroying this place, and then they kill what's his name, Han Solo, and everyone who watches goes, oh, surprise.
Yeah, right. So, yeah, I mean,
I think we probably shouldn't rag too hard. We've done a lot of ragging on those movies.
Yeah.
They rag on themselves just by existing, so. Thing is, if you're not, I feel like my girlfriend who saw the first movie actually said that she liked it, but that's also because she had no idea what happened in A New Hope too.
Well, yeah, I think it's for new audience. For also like you need to not have, like worry about you want to bring the old fans right that have the young fans come in too, and then the ones that have children. So that's really it. It's like if it makes the same exact movie, it's like this was just like my childhood. This is what I saw. Now you're gonna see it, and that's what really matters to Disney, basically.
Honestly, I wish that they would make a movie about the Old Republic. So cool to make like, you know, a movie about like the time of Revan and Malak and the wars and the Mandalorian. I mean, the Mandalorian is what time period is that being considered?
Okay. Oh, the show
in the same as the Boba Fett as Boba Fett being alive, right?
Yeah. So
like
the show it's supposed to be it's definitely before the original, I think. I was reading up on it. I don't really remember the exact timeline, but it's definitely before there. Um, not exactly sure.
Dude, I want to see like the Mandalorian Wars though, not just the Mandalorian.
Yeah, but that the
Just,
Mandalorian is supposed to be like the coolest character, basically.
yeah.
So like we're supposed to get him, and the wars are cool too.
I guess like the Mandalorian War is Revan and Malik, and that's all the way.
Right.
In the
So
Old
I think
Republic, yeah.
I think this is supposed to be set where like he's. It's like right at the end of all that stuff where he's like kind of the last few, I imagine.
So right. So he's I mean this is pre the original 3 movies. Right?
Yeah, that it's definitely.
Before he like becomes as badass as he is. I mean, like he already is badass, but yeah, I think he's like one of the last remaining Mandalorians. But like back in the Old Republic, Revan and Malik participated in the Mandalorian Wars, which were like a gigantic, huge war in which the Jedi in part participated in.
So I just looked it up, and it says the series takes place 5 years after the events of Return of the Jedi.
Okay. Didn't he? So they're gonna like maybe in the first episode show how he doesn't die or something.
Yes, yeah, because we all know how he gets out.
Okay, so it's actually post the 3 movies.
Yeah. Okay.
I feel like that's more interesting than pre. Maybe not though at the same time, because then we get to like know a little bit more about how he gets to there.
Yeah, don't you like want to know how like all the ties he has and how he got out and all this different stuff and like what he had to go through? Now it's like, oh, we're just gonna see this afterwards, and
you know, and there's like a part
we're not gonna get his
too.
son. I mean, no, that's in the original one. Yeah, so like I don't know.
There's like a part of it too where part of the reason Boba Fett was such a well-liked character was because he had like no lines and he was like really cool and just badass.
Well, he's supposed to be like Clint Eastwood, right? Clint Eastwood, like esque.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be a space western, so it's gonna have that same feel where he's not gonna say much, just be like a badass.
But I feel like this could potentially like because we're giving depth to his character, make him less cool if done poorly. And it's like they've already screwed up so much. Now there's a potential that they may completely screw up Boba Fett on top of all of that. He's like the last thing they have left.
Yeah, the thing is he's like an established character and they can go off of that instead of coming up with a Mary Sue and a bunch of new cast, right?
Yeah, I mean last time they got to do that, it didn't go over so well, so.
What? With the new character?
Like meaning like they already tried doing that and it's not going so well. So.
Right.
But apparently they're making 3 more after this.
Of movies?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, like, do you know the writers for Game of Thrones, right?
Oh yeah, was Dave
D&D, Dan and David.
Yeah, Dan and David. Yeah.
They were supposed to do the next 3. Like, there is actually more Star Wars after these 3.
Oh, so this is like it's like each of the trilogies are. It's like right now this is the 3rd trilogy, so we have like the prequels, the original, and these ones, and there's a bunch of time between each of them. So the next one would be like a bunch of time, and then we'd have another saga.
Yeah, I guess so. Like, okay. I mean, we don't have no idea what the plans are for that.
That's what it's been. That's what it sounds like. Because they could just put them wherever they want and then like make it fit, and then there could be a bunch of time between 2 movies and say things change. So then even later, if you want to, you can go in and fill in the blanks, kind of how they did with Rogue One. They can just say how things happened, all this different stuff.
It still feels like nobody can make a cinematic universe like Kevin Feige. Is it Feige or Feige?
I say Feige. I don't think it matters. I don't know.
Feige? Feige? I think it's Feige. I don't know. But like you said, they probably have this idea that we can just do whatever we want because we'll just like make another movie to fill in the blanks. Or I don't like that mentality because it's like you really should plan out what you're doing and make it so that the previous like trilogy makes sense to this trilogy. Like Luke wasn't even the same character. It felt like this was Luke who tried to save even his own father from the dark side and granted him a second chance, and is also the same Luke who tried to murder Kylo Ren in his sleep, and instead of try to help him away from the path of the darkness. Like, they literally changed characters for the sake of this series. So the next writer for the next series could just be like, I didn't really like this and that and this about these characters, and I didn't really like this plot, so we'll just do something else, and people have to get over it, or we'll fill it in with a movie. And it's just, I hope that maybe this will help them do better in the next 3, and then we can like forget that Rey and this cast even existed.
I mean, they were gonna get like the guys that did like Game of Thrones, like they did an amazing job on like all the story and the characters.
They're not doing it anymore.
Oh right, so Disney's screwed. Okay.
Yeah, screwed in quotes.
Yeah, I know.
No, Dan and David are terrible. They would probably have screwed that up horribly. So I'm kind of glad that they're not doing it.
They're going to. The rereason they quit is because they're going to Netflix.
Yeah, no, they got a $200 million deal with Netflix. You know, first, we're gonna make Confederate.
Oh right. That was supposed to be That was supposed to be right after. Game of Thrones.
I think it was like
And that was the next thing they were creating. They announced it, and then they were hopping on to start. Work with Star Wars. I think it was 2022, something like that.
I mean, it sounds to me like the way it went down is Game of Thrones was coming to a close. The last 2 seasons had to be written and started development and filming and production. And, the guys at HBO, they're like, hey, you guys are doing great. You guys should try another show. Maybe write something. And they're like, okay, we'll give it a shot. We'll try writing something. Come up with Confederate. They're like, oh, this is not doing very well. And people are kind of upset that you wrote a show about an alternate universe in which the Civil War was won by the South.
Does that mean that would actually happen? I don't know.
What?
That people, there was, backlash?
Yeah, there apparently was pretty heavy backlash on, the internet in general. Yeah. And I think somebody said it was, white, something slavery fantasy, the show or something.
I mean, it's just a concept I don't know. Because it can go in any sort of direction. Yeah,
I mean, I don't think I have too strong of feelings about it myself, but I'm also not, African American, and I don't have to deal with the shit.
Yeah, no, but you can also portray certain characters in certain ways, and
they would have to make it pretty negative. I think, really,
that's fine. I mean, it could happen. We don't know that it was or it wasn't going to happen.
Either way, it got very bad reactions, and then I think that they in some way got into contact with Disney, and they were offered to do Star Wars, and they're like, hey, you guys are really good at really epic series. I'm sure you'll do good at Star Wars. And they're like, oh, Star Wars, that sounds cool. Yeah. See you later, HBO. We're going to do this now.
Yeah.
And then Netflix comes in a little later, and they're like, hey, how about $200 million? And they're like, whew, Disney, you want a match? And Disney's like, fuck no, you guys suck. They just go over to Disney.
To Netflix.
I mean, to Netflix, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, they're following money. They're not following passion. They're not following interest. They're not following love of their art or of their anything. They're just going, hey, we made Game of Thrones. It was the first thing we ever made. We barely even knew what we were doing when we made it, which is apparently something they actually said. They learned how to make the show while making the show, and that they were surprised HBO even let them make it. But let's just give them Star Wars, one of the most beloved series, franchises, lores of all time. And then Netflix for some reason thinks that they're actually worth $200 million.
They better be making a ton of shows.
I mean, they don't really. I mean, I think before Game of Thrones, I don't actually know what they've done.
No, I'm just saying, for Netflix, they better be making a shit ton of shows.
Yeah, for $200 million, they have to at least be making 2 or 3 shows, 4 or 5, a lot. But the thing is that they were good at adapting shows. They weren't good at writing shows, and towards the end of the series, when they began to run out of George's material, you began to see their writing abilities really suffer. I'll give them that they've got good dialogue, they've got good cinematography, the scenes, the acting, the directing. It looked really cool. The moments, just like with Star Wars, again, the moments were really cool. The scenes, the sets, these individual slices of the movie with no reference to anything else are cool. But then when you put directly next to each other a scene where a dragon is no match for a bunch of scorpions, and then in like 2 episodes later, that same dragon is now totally a match for scorpions.
Yeah.
It suddenly is no longer cool. Like in individual scenes, those 2 scenes are very cool looking and very epic moments, but you put them side to side.
Yeah, continuity wise. Yeah.
So they focused on teleporting characters around and making cool epic moments instead of developing their characters any further. In fact, all development of all characters ended in the 7th and 8th season. In fact, several of them were ruined.
Well, so it sounds like this current trilogy of Star Wars movies that we have.
I don't think we want that again.
No.
So I'm glad that they're off. I really hope like a true writer gets it. You know, like somebody who is going to be like very passionate.
Wasn't that supposed to be who's making it now?
I don't know who's making it.
That was the same dude that was making Star Trek. That made Star Trek. I'm gonna look it up. I forgot his name though. I think he did Star Trek, and then he came over to Star Wars.
Star Trek was a very good show. So
I'm saying the movies, the new movies. Yeah.
I don't think I actually saw the movies.
Really?
No.
I think I saw like the first one, and it was like a lot more action based than like this. Like I know the shows were.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. Well, so okay, it was J.J. Abrams.
Right. Yes, J.J. Abrams.
See, and he's supposed to be a fanboy that was gonna do it right. I remember that specifically when he was first announced and they were talking about it.
I wonder if he caved in to like studio pressure, or if he was the one who wanted to remake A New Hope.
He probably wanted to pay homage at the same time as
that wasn't paying homage.
At the same time as giving like fans exactly what they wanted from back what they had. Like he didn't. It's kind of playing. It's playing so damn safe, having the same exact like essentially story.
I guess like there's always the chance that you can get a couple different types of fans, right? Like there'll be the fan that wants to do what J.J. Abrams does, which is like he really doesn't want to ruin this thing that he maybe loved himself, so he plays it safe. He's like afraid of the backlash because he knows that just because he knows himself how he felt about watching the prequels, or like he doesn't want to let anyone down, so he ends up playing it overly safe. And then I feel like there's the other type of fan who's like, no way, I'm making something completely different, something unique. I'm going to take a spin on the Star Wars series, but keep it true to the original feeling and the essence of Star Wars, and keep it true to that, and focus on that character development and change over time. And that was focusing on Luke in those first 3 movies was huge. It was all about Luke learning every movie, and he discovers his father's actually Vader, and he changes his perspective on the dark side, and he's evolving over the course of these movies. But then you get Rey, and she doesn't change at all, and it's just like, I think you're right. I think it's just playing it safe. I think it was easier to make a character that just starts off badass and stays badass than it is to come up with a character who starts off as a wimp or a weakling and make them a badass.
Sort of, but I also think it's easier to obviously just remake a movie and then change the characters in a sense, like with the first movie. But then the second one, they kind of threw everything out the window, because like once they kill Snoke for like without explaining who he was, like the amount of setup that they gave him in the first movie was perfect for the type of lore that Star Wars goes for, and they could have kept that going and could have revealed something amazing. And the way the same thing set up with Rey, with her parents, that whole thing, all that stuff, it was great setup in the first movie. Once the second, like they want to change it up, I guess, and then since that's the case, coming to this third movie with having the Emperor coming back, now you're just like everything's out the window. They don't care what they touch, what they taint. It doesn't matter now.
Right. Like Snoke could have been the main bad guy, and that people would have preferred that, I think, than to have him just randomly, uselessly die, and have all of his build-up be evaporated into nothing, and then add a laugh of Palpatine in the teaser trailer, and then every Star Wars fan in the world is just shaking their head, SMH, and being like, okay, cool, you guys just brought back Palpatine for fan service. Like, it doesn't make us happy.
No.
We got Palpatine in the first 3. We got Palpatine in the prequels. He's not that amazing of a bad guy. There's other things you can do.
Yeah.
Like,
yes, that's
the
the thing.
games
So is it
had
is it like
cool-
safe or not safe now to just reuse the exact bad guy, right? And so like that's kind of crazy now to think about it. Instead of coming up with this new bad guy that they had that they actually were doing really well with, now they're just gonna throw it out the window and bring back this old bad guy that he's already set in stone that they can't. Well, I mean, they can screw him up like they screwed Luke up, but they're just gonna reuse that guy anyway. That's kind of dumb. Oh man.
I mean, I think there's a higher standard for, like, I don't want to call them remakes, but they're kind of remakes because they're trying to capture the same, like, like I said, essence of the first three. And Rey is supposed to be Luke, the nobody who lives in the middle of nowhere. Turns out his parents might be powerful or whatever, and goes on a journey and discovers themselves and grows and learns and learns more about their history and their past and meets these characters along the way. I think is very similar in terms of like what they're trying to do, but it just feels like when you're doing that nowadays, you have to put some sort of spin on it. And the spin could have been her changing over to Kylo Ren's side and it being more anti-establishment, where like her and Kylo aren't on the New Order side and they're not on the Rebel side. They're saying, holy crap, we've been fighting for fucking 6 movies now. Can we stop?
Yeah. And that's what it felt like. That like whole scene, that whole like build up into them fighting all the like
I would have
Imperial
loved
Guard,
Kylo and Rey versus the world. That would be so cool.
Yeah. And you have like Finn trying to bring her back, and that whole struggle, trying to actually show her, like she's like, yeah, you're misguided. It's not just like the New Order; it's everybody else too. And it's like, no, and then they struggle with that. Yeah,
because I would love, like, because then that could also like call to the political environment we live in, where it's like, one side was always really bad, but then it's like the other side begins to become corrupt itself because it exists in opposition to the original bad side. And then like at some point the people within it realize that both sides are ultimately feeding into each other's constant unending battle and war. And that's why, like, even though the Imperials were killed by the Rebels, they were immediately replaced by the New Order, and then the New Order killed the Rebels, and then they're immediately replaced by this new Rebels. And it's kind of like that idea of like the perpetuating cycle of hate and fighting and war.
Yeah.
And then they could be like against it as like the anti-establishment duo of Kylo and Rey realizing that they're above all of this just repeating of the cycle.
Yeah.
And that could be cool.
Yeah, that's so much deeper than what we got already.
like going into the movie, there's a lot of people who thought she was going to turn evil based on the trailers and stuff, and they were actually excited for it.
Yeah.
Honestly, it feels more and more like Game of Thrones the more you talk about it. It's like the theories for the second movie were better than the actual second movie. Like, no character development, focusing on the scenes and the big epic moments, just all of it. It just feels so reminiscent.
Yeah.
But I think that's pretty much it.
I think kind of said all we could really say. I mean, I guess we could say more, but it's a bunch of the same stuff with this at this point.
We're going to start repeating ourselves.
Yeah.
I just want a good Star Wars movie. Even Han Solo wasn't that good. I didn't even see it. I'll be honest. I can't even say it's bad.
I watched it. It was all right. It was not like, I didn't think it was that bad, but it wasn't definitely not like good. It was fine. The worst part is how he got his freaking name in the whole thing.
Really?
Yeah. It was like he was trying to like go like get away. He had like trying to get a passport, so they're asking him his name, and he's by himself. So he's like, his name's Han, and then he's like, the last name he's like, I'm Solo. Like it was just like some stupid shit like that. Yeah, it was so dumb. I liked Rogue One though. And
Rogue One was pretty good.
Yeah, I just like that one.
It definitely doesn't stand out like as like a movie that when somebody goes, "Oh, yo, let's go watch Rogue One," I'll be like, "Isn't there something new we could watch?"
Well, sure. I mean, same thing with these other Star Wars movies. But I thought it was better than the rest of what the new.
I think out of all the new movies, it's definitely best.
Yeah.
But there was one other thing I wanted to add.
Good.
What was it related to? Shoot. I guess it's fine if we just ignore me. I didn't say anything. But yeah, I mean, it's just like one good movie, and we'd all be happy.
Yeah, it's gonna be what? It's gonna be one good movie. Like even if this is a good movie, it's gonna be a movie in a shitty trilogy. And in the next trilogy, if it's one good movie in 3, it's another thing. Same thing.
You know, honestly, I think the thing I wanted to say was safe isn't safe anymore. Different is the new safe. Joker did fantastic because it was completely different. It did everything differently. It didn't even try to take from a single superhero movie. It was like, we're going to do our own shit. Even the whole Marvel Cinematic Universe, every single movie that came out was the newest of its time. Like, sure, they're all still superhero movies and have a bit of a superhero formula to them, but it doesn't change the fact that they basically have like created the greatest epic like movie series of all time. And if even one of those movies did badly, the whole thing falls apart.
Well,
all of the movies were good. Even Captain Marvel was like still better than a Star Wars movie. And that may be slightly controversial.
I guess. Well, I was just gonna say the worst of the movies in the Marvel series are just like the most forgettable ones. They're not really that they were bad in a bad movie sense, just in a forgettable like superhero movie by the numbers, like Thor: Dark World, most forgettable of I think the whole series.
I also didn't really like the Avengers 2: Age of Ultron.
And I was gonna say that Age of Ultron and Dark World were definitely the most forgettable kind of by the numbers of like superhero movies. And it's not that they were just bad; they were just there. They didn't like add anything new.
Yeah, hopefully with this last movie, maybe it will surprise us and will end up being good. But they really got to pull something out of their ass and like save the whole series.
Yeah, they got to channel the light side.
Or maybe the next 3 will be good. Maybe we'll just have to wait another like 5 years. I don't know when the next one's supposed to be slated for.
Unless we get a really good like expansion on the universe in the series, like in The Mandalorian, and I don't know if they confirmed any other show, but I imagine they're gonna have another series in the Star Wars universe.
I wonder if like it continues to perform poorly, if at some point they'll just be like, we're gonna stop making Star Wars movies forever now.
I mean, they just get all the money in their streaming services and just keep doing it that way.
Right, they're actually doing a lot of stuff in the streaming service, right?
No, I don't know for Star Wars. I know like the animated stuff, but definitely a lot of all the Marvel stuff, all those superhero stuff. But they just have the Mandalorian. I think is also, as far as I know.
I would definitely think it'd be cool to like focus on the small screen for Star Wars. I think it'll do better on the small screen, especially if you get like some really good.
You can do like nice crossovers. You can have like different characters doing their own things. And then crossover into like maybe another show. They come together, or like they just do crossover episodes or few episodes.
Yeah,
and they just do that type of deal. That would be really cool.
We'll see what they do. Yeah. I still feel skeptical of everything.
Yeah, me too.
I really hope they get it together. I mean, they basically canceled all the standalones now off of Han Solo. That's also a little depressing. But yeah, let us know what you guys think about the next movie.
Are you excited?
You guys know how we feel.
Yeah.
But maybe we're wrong. Maybe there's something you guys noticed, or like maybe you have a theory of your own.
Tell us how we're not really Star Wars fans if we don't like it.
I'm sure there's gonna be somebody out there.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you for joining us. Have a great day. See ya.
See you next week. As always, thank you for listening and following.
Check us out every Thursday on YouTube, Spotify, Apple and Google Podcasts, anywhere podcasts are available.
You can find us on Instagram at Unstoppable Force Podcast and Twitter at UForcePod for news and updates.
We'll see you guys next week. And until then, stay unstoppable.